I think this idea of loving yourself as a cultural obsession has no basis in reality. Here's the challenge. When you're born, what do you got to do to be loved? Nothing. Because your mother's on drugs, natural drugs, oxytocin. So you look like a lizard and she thinks you're beautiful. Right? You know, you're fat, you shit all over, you throw up and you're still beautiful, right? For a while, you're unconditionally loved. And thank God we wouldn't have survived otherwise. You know, I love women so much. I have so much respect for women, even more so going through birth again. No man will ever fully appreciate what a woman does or what a baby demands of a mother if you're breastfeeding and the energy and the no sleep. I mean, it's amazing what women do in our lives. But the point is, in the beginning, you gotta do nothing. And then the oxytocin wears off and suddenly you do the same scream or yell, throw your food, and now you get yelled at or hit, or the worst one of all, you get ignored. And then fear enters your body. And then the rest of your life, you're looking for, how can I get this unconditional love? And I remember in the beginning asking myself, because I studied all animals and what the level of dependency they have. And human beings have the longest period of dependency for survival of any creature other than other primates. Whales will be dependent for a year, birds for a few weeks, then boom, get your ass out there and fly. It's a different world. We have this long dependency. It's just the nature of how we are. And then I thought to myself, so why don't we just have unconditional love all the time? And I think my answer is because then you never grow or give anything to life. You think everything is about you. And unfortunately, there are a large population of kids that were raised in a generation of parents that were helicopter parents that thought everything should be about the child, and they wonder why they're selfish today. Or why they, don't seem to have great relationships where you gotta be with somebody else, you gotta put somebody else ahead of you. That's what love is. Love is putting somebody else ahead of yourself. Loving yourself usually comes for most human beings by starting to have a value and just appreciating people, not because of what they do, not because of what they have, just because you feel their essence. And it's easier to do that with somebody you love than it's with yourself, but when you start to with somebody else and you're not judging, you're truly loving them, then it's much more natural because you're already doing the loving. You're not getting it from somewhere else. Someone may say something, look at you a certain way as a trigger, but all love is self-love. This bullshit, I don't love myself. If you've ever been someone who felt loved, you loved yourself. They didn't love you. They said something, they did something with their eyes, and you used that as a trigger to release love inside of you. But loving yourself every moment, all the time, is not the secret to success. Having appreciation for yourself is different than constantly loving. Now, in the Bible, it says, love thy neighbor as thyself. So I think it's a worthy goal and it's useful, but most people are obsessed with it. And I think, get on about living a life that's meaningful and you'll love yourself. As long as you focus on you, you're not gonna love you. Because the human brain is always looking for what's wrong, what to protect, what needs to be changed. It's a survival instinct. And so it's looking for things to fight or flight or try to freeze or pretend are not there about yourself. But when you're in a bit of service, when you're trying to serve something more than yourself, that's when the higher part of your consciousness is there. That's when your heart is flowing. And when you're doing that, you're not thinking about you, and therefore you feel love. And I can tell you my own experience, no one else have to earn love with me, but my strategy has been, I gotta earn my own love, right? I gotta be worthy of my own love. I don't do that to somebody else.
How do you do that?
Well, by helping millions of people for 44 years, now I'm finally at the stage where, I fucking love myself. I'm up there,
right.
I enjoy myself, I appreciate it. But along the way, I've always earned it. Now, I don't think that's necessarily healthy or not, but I like what it's done with me. If I know people that just think they're God's gift to creation, and they don't add any value to any other human being, and they're assholes to be around. They love themselves. So I would challenge that whole belief system. I'd say it's appreciating yourself, it's loving the people around you, and the more you can unconditionally love others, the more you'll unconditionally love yourself. But trying to start with yourself when you're not doing it with others, forget it, it'll never happen.
One of my favorite protocols is the daily nature walk. I love walking in the woods. I often listen to audiobooks in the woods. I call it reading while walking. Reading while walking. So I go to this place, it's sort of my creative forest. There's not a lot of people in there, and I walk for 1 hour. I breathe in the air. I look at the lush scenery. I listen to a different audiobook. It's almost like a walking meditation as well. Sometimes I don't listen to an audiobook, and I just walk, and I touch the earth. It's almost like I'm thanking the earth, connecting with the soil. Yes, I'm wearing shoes. I don't want to get too esoteric here, but there's a lot of really good research saying if you want to boost your immune system, You want to boost your happiness. You want to release serotonin and dopamine. You want to release the fear hormone called cortisol. Walk in nature. And so when I walk, I connect with nature.
Happiness is one of the most studied areas of human endeavor in the history of the world. I mean, when you look at psychology and you look at philosophy, this is all I've been talking about for literally centuries. It's unbelievable. So we figured out the basics of happiness. It's that sometimes common sense isn't common practice. So people struggle for no reason. I mean, look at what we know about happiness. We know basically happiness usually comes from an orientation towards the world in which we look at the past, the present, and the future in specific ways. We often tend to look at the past with gratitude and with fond recollection, even if there were struggles, challenges, suffering, turmoil. We find our places in the past and we feel a sense of acceptance about the past. It happened. It's good. All things were as they were, and today they are as they shall be. And it's being okay with whatever the past is, finding a peace, an acceptance, and a gratitude there allows us to be a little more free in the present. And being in the present, what makes us happy? Being engaged in whatever we are really doing. I mean, really engaged in it, mentally engaged in what we are doing each day. Where we're challenging ourselves just a little bit, where we're finding something we're passionate about, interested in, and challenging ourselves to bring our full conscious presence to the moment, to develop awareness, right? Almost all spiritual sort of texts and teachers and trainers are always trying to help people become just more present in the moment, more accepting of the world as it is, but here, the power of now stuff, right? It's like, get here, be engaged, be present with the moment. And then with the future, it's all about anticipating with excitement what's to come in the future. Even if the future is scary, even if there's still going to be hardship, because there will be, even if there's going to be struggle, yep, there will be too. But finding your marks, what are you excited about for tomorrow? And if you can't find anything to be excited about tomorrow, that has nothing to do with the reality of tomorrow. It has to do with your mindset. You've poisoned yourself in pools of pessimism for so long that you've drowned yourself of hope, that you've forgotten that there is magic to life, that there is something tomorrow. You could find something. Even if tomorrow you just can say, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to get up, I'm going to feel better. Just going to decide to be. Be excited about that. Tomorrow I'm going to go do something nice for somebody. Tomorrow I'm going to get focused into this one project I've been waiting to do. Tomorrow I'm going to make the damn bed. Whatever it is, find something to be excited about for tomorrow. That's the basics of everything we know about your emotional world and your mental world of happiness. So simple, right? Be accepting and at peace with the past. Be present and engaged here in the present, and be excited. Anticipate something for the future.
So me and Jada was reflecting about love. And I asked her, I said, what did she think was, one of the biggest revelations that she had about love? She said that you cannot make a person happy. And I thought that was a real deep idea. You can make a person smile, you can make a person feel good, you can make a person laugh, but whether or not a person is happy is deeply and totally and utterly out of your control. I remember the day I retired. I literally said to Jada, that's it. I retire. I retire from trying to make you happy. I need you to go make yourself happy and just prove to me that it's even possible. And after we cracked the hell up, we started talking about, we came into this false romantic concept that somehow when we got married that we would become one. And what we realized is that we were two completely separate people on two completely separate individual journeys, and that we were choosing to walk our separate journeys together. But her happiness was her responsibility, and my happiness was my responsibility. And we decided that we were going to find our individual, internal, private, separate joy. And then we were going to present ourselves to the relationship and to each other already happy, not coming to each other begging with our empty cups out, demanding that she fill my cup and demanding that she meet my needs. Unfair, and it's kind of unrealistic and can be destructive to place the responsibility for your happiness on anybody other than yourself.
I have a philosophy about long-term relationships that isn't discussed very often. So for those of my friends that are in one that's, I don't know how long, but for some people long-term's a year, right? But for those of us that are in long-term relationships, I get asked often on shows, hey, what are one of the keys that I would not normally hear about that create a relationship that is still doing what you said earlier, which is so wonderful, where there really is this observation, there's separation, there's growth happening. And so there's all these things they say in a long term. Be honest with one another, be trustworthy, make sure you're communicating. One of the things that I find with my friends and I who have had long-term, really good relationships is physical intimacy still. And real attraction to one another physically. If everyone says, I want to marry my best friend, which you do, but you have a lot of friends and you don't need to be married to all of them. And one of the things I see in relationships is they start out where there's this physical chemistry, and I know relationships ebbs and flow. I'm not just talking about sex. I'm referring to physical touching and intimacy. When I was dating Christiana, her dad was older than her mother, and it was his second marriage. His first wife had died of cancer. And oftentimes in second marriages, I see people kind of know the second time around, maybe the mistakes they made the first time. In his case, his wife had actually passed away. But when I would date her, I would often pick her up. And when you'd walk up to their home, their front door, and I'd knock to come get her, you could see into their living room. And my family didn't have this. My parents have their own dynamic. But I would go to the front door, and more times than not, Matthew, more times than not every time, on a Saturday night I'd come to pick up my girlfriend for a date, I could look into the living room and the TV would be off. I get emotional because he's passed away, but they'd be slow dancing.
Wow.
And at an advanced age.
Wow.
They just slow dance in the living room together. Now, I don't know if that led to more than that in the bedroom afterwards, but they had real physical intimacy. They weren't just friends, they were lovers in every sense. Physical lovers. That doesn't always necessarily mean, but people ask me, what's one of the keys to a relationship? Physical intimacy. It's a box you better be checking. There's got to be that touching and that physical attraction to have a passionate relationship.
And I reached a point senior year when my adjustment felt like me. I had actually convinced myself that I was this person and she me. Pretty, talented, but not stuck up. A girl who laughed a lot at every stupid thing every boy said, and who lowered her eyes at the right moment and deferred, who learned to defer when the boys took over the conversation. I really remember this so clearly. And I could tell it was working. I was much less annoying to the guys than I had been. They liked me better, and I liked that. This was conscious, but it was at the same time motivated and fully felt. This was real acting. I got to Vassar, which 43 years ago was a single-sex institution, like all the colleges in what they called the Seven Sisters, the female Ivy League. And I made some very quick but lifelong and challenging friends. And with their help, outside of any competition for boys, My brain woke up. I got up and I got outside myself and I found myself again. I didn't have to pretend. I could be goofy, vehement, aggressive, and slovenly, and open, and funny, and tough, and my friends let me. I didn't wash my hair for 3 weeks once. They accepted me, like the Velveteen Rabbit. I became real instead of an imaginary stuffed bunny.